Alright, so today we're learning about theme and central idea. What you're going to work on as you are completing this lesson is determining a theme or central idea of a text. Tomorrow and during our class time, we'll work more with analyzing that theme or analyzing that central idea's development over the course of a text. So these are your two objectives. These are your two learning targets that you want to keep in mind as we're talking about theme and central idea. So let's talk about the definition of both of these things. First, you have a central idea, which is what the story is mostly about. So let's say that you went and saw a movie, and I've been talking about going to see that movie, but I haven't seen it yet. And I ask you, hey, how was the movie? Well, you're not going to sit there and you're not going to give me every important little detail because you would spoil the movie for me, right? So the same thing happens when somebody asks you for the central idea of a text. You don't want to spoil the text for other readers who haven't read it yet. So you just want to give them the main details of that text. So what the story is mostly about. And then we get a little more difficult when we're talking about the theme, because the theme is the main message in a text that teaches the reader a lesson about life. Some of you might know this as kind of like the moral of the story, right? But let's unpack this definition a little bit. When I talk about the main message, I'm really kind of going for that there can be more than one message. So if Johnny and Susie are reading the same story, but Johnny gets a different message than Susie does from that story, that's perfectly fine because they're two completely different individuals and they're going to get different lessons from that text. That's okay. It happens. So again, there can be more than one theme in a text. And then when I talk about a lesson about life, I really mean kind of an opinion about life. So it's not necessarily a fact. And it relates to all people. So instead of saying love, the theme of the story is love. Okay, it's not an object. It's actually an opinion about that object. So love stinks. Okay, that relates to everybody, right? And that is an opinion about love. So determining a text's theme is like putting a puzzle together. You're taking all of the important details from the story and you're using them to create a greater thing called the theme. So for example, let's talk about the story of the tortoise and the hare. Pretty common story. I think a lot of us are pretty familiar with what happens here. So the hare is very arrogant. He thinks, he's confident that he's going to win because, well, he's a hare and that's a tortoise. And the tortoise is slow because, well, it's a tortoise. And so the hare starts bragging and boasting, oh, I'm so fast, I'm gonna win no matter what. There's no way you can beat me, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, so the hare's head gets a little too big and he takes a nap and then the tortoise goes on to pass him in the race. And then, as we all know, the tortoise actually wins the race. And so when you talk about this story and you ask, what are possible themes of this story, almost everyone will respond that slow and steady wins the race. But there are obviously going to be more than one theme. Right? So you might think about that as you think about this story. What are other possible themes? Because it's not just one. There could be many others, right? Alright, so lastly I want you to think of a movie that you know well, and I'll kind of do this along with you. I'll be talking about The Lion King because I've seen that movie a million times. I know it like the back of my hand. That's a movie that I know well. And so first I'm going to answer the question, what is the movie mainly about? Well, the movie is mainly about a boy lion's father, and his father dies, so he runs away from home, only to return again and become king. Notice that I didn't put a bunch of details in there, I just put the main idea in there, the central idea. the most important details. And then I'm going to use those details to decide what the main lesson about life the movie teaches. And to me, I would say that it is that you can't run from the past. And I want you to notice here that I didn't say that Simba couldn't run from his past or lions can't run from their past. No, I'm making it relevant to everyone by saying you can't run from the past. It's a message about life that everyone can relate to. Okay, so I want you to remember these 4 things. They're very important from this lesson. First, a theme is most likely an opinion about a subject, not just one word. It's gotta be more than one word. And 2, a theme applies to everyone, not just one character. 3, you have to use important details to help determine the theme, like it's a puzzle. And then 4, there can be more than one theme in a story, depending on what your viewpoint is. Now you're going to go through and complete the quiz and have that finished by tomorrow morning before school.